All right, I'm going to go through the second option on how to approximate irrational numbers. So this will be option 2 or second option. And this is on the back of one of those, probably like let's see, the fourth page. I think this is the fourth page of the notes. And I'll just go through how to do some of these examples, maybe 2 using this second option, okay? So it says number 1, what you're going to do is decide which 2 perfect squares your imperfect square lies between, and then you'll take the square root of it, okay? So basically 2 things in number 1. Give me the 2 perfect squares your number lies between, and then take the square root of both. That's going to tell you which 2 integers the square root lies between. So I'm going to list my perfect squares here. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, and so forth, okay? So I'm going to give you an example. So we'll start off, if I want to approximate the square root of 15, then step 1 would just be to determine which 2 perfect squares 15 lies between. 15 is your imperfect square. All right, so I know 15 lies between 9 and 16. Those are the 2 perfect squares. 9 being the first perfect square, 16 being the second perfect square, and 15 being the imperfect square. So that's how I set up step 1. I take the square root of it. The square root of 9 equals 3. The square root of 16 equals 4. So that must mean that the square root of 15 is 3 point something. Okay? All right, so that's step 1. Step 2, I'm going to do step 2 over here, is to write a fraction. And my steps even tell you how to set the fraction up. So if you look, it says to write a fraction, you're going to take your imperfect square. Now, my imperfect square was 15. So you're going to put 15 minus, and as you can see, there's your minus sign, your first perfect square. Now, the first perfect square here is a 9. So 15 minus 9. You're talking about out of the set here between 9, 15, and 16. 15 is the imperfect square, and 9 is the first, 15 is the imperfect square, 9 is the first perfect square, and 16 is the second perfect square in that set. All right, and then on the bottom it says take your second perfect square. Again, your second perfect square in this set is 16. And you're going to subtract your first perfect square. The first perfect square in this set is 9. So it tells you which one of these to choose, the first perfect square, the imperfect square, or the second perfect square. But I want you to notice something. Whatever you're subtracting in your numerator, you're also subtracting in your denominator. So if you're subtracting 9 in your numerator, you're subtracting 9 in your denominator as well. All right, so that will equal to 15 minus 9 is 6, and 16 minus 9 is 7. So in step 2, my fraction is 6/7. Now let's look at step 3. Step 3 says t-bill your fraction and round to the nearest hundredth. So I'm going to do step 3 here. I'm going to do top in and bottom out. Now to round to the nearest hundred, I need at least 3 zeros, because the thousandths place, the number in the thousandths place tells the number in the hundredths place what to do. And if I think about a number in the thousandths place, this is tenths, that's hundredths, and this is thousandths. So whatever you get, you're going to round to this place value right here. You'll round to this one. I'm trying to change the color. But whatever's in the thousandths place will tell that number what to do to tell it to go up if it's 5 or more, or say if it's 4 or less. But in that case, I got to have 1, 2, 3 zeros here, okay, to get to the thousandths place. So what I'll do is I say 7 won't go into 6, so I'll write a 0 and subtract a 0. 7 goes into 60. 8 times, that's 56. 60 minus 56 is 4. 7 goes into 40. 5 times, that's 35. And yes, you will T-bow by hand. 7 goes into 50. 7 times, that's 49. But I don't need the 49. I know that 7 tells that 5 to go to a 6. So 6 sevenths is going to approximate to, and I need a little more room. I'll do it right here. 6 sevenths will approximate to the nearest hundred. It's going to approximate to 0.86. So whatever is behind the decimal here goes back to step 1 and goes behind the decimal there. So I know that the square root of 15 is really, really close to 3.86. So now all I do is go to step 4 and step 5. Step 4 and step 5 is just when you check. And you keep checking, okay? So I'm going to check. I'm going to take 3 and 86 hundredths and square it and see what I get. It's 14.90. And then it says continue adding 100 to the decimal, squaring and checking until you get an estimate close to your square root number, which was 15 in this case. So now instead of 3 and 86 hundredths, let's see if we can get closer by using 3 and 87 hundredths. Good morning. So we're looking at 14 and 98 hundredths. All right, and then we're going to try 3 and 88 hundredths. Square that. And we get 15 and 5 hundredths. So this is like 2 cents away from 15. And this is 5 cents away from 15. So we'll say that the square root of 15 is really, really close to 3 and 87 hundredths. Don't know if it's gone or I hope it went out. All right, let's talk about the rat, guys, or mouse. So the square root of 15 is approximately 3 and 87 hundredths to the nearest hundred. All right, so we're going to follow those same steps. I'll do one more just to show you, another example, okay? Make sure you pause the video if you don't have it and write that down. Go back and rewind and write it down. I'm about to erase. And again, we're going to follow these same steps, okay? So basically, I just see a problem A below. So we just did A. I'm going to do the square root of 56 with it, okay? I'm going to put my irrational list, my perfect square list right here. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, and so forth, okay? And I see that 56 comes after 49, but before 64. So I'm going to, for step 1, I'm going to use 49, 56, and 64. I'm going to take the square root of each of those. Square root of 49 is 7. Square root of 64 is 8. So another square root of 56 is 7 point something, okay? Whatever that something is, we'll figure it out in a minute. And then I'm going to go on to step 2. Step 2 says write a fraction. You're going to follow these steps. You're going to take your imperfect square. My imperfect square here is 56. And it says you're going to subtract your first perfect square. The first perfect square is 49. Okay? So we're going to write 56 minus 49. And then for the bottom, it says take your second perfect square. Well, my second perfect square in this list is 64 minus your first perfect square, which is 49. 64 minus 49. So we start out with 56 minus 49, and we get 7. And then we have 64 minus 49. Remember, whatever you're subtracting in your numerator, you're also subtracting in your denominator. So if it's minus 49 on the top, it's minus 49 on the bottom. Now, after you get your fraction, it says TIBO your fraction, and round to the nearest hundred. Now, in the book, if it says round to the nearest 10, instead of adding 3 zeros, you just need to add 2, and that'll help you round to the nearest 10. So I'm going to TIBO 7/15. Now, had it said round to the nearest 10th, I only would have put 2 zeros, because the number in the hundreds place would tell the number in the tenths place what to do. But since it says round to the nearest hundredth, I'm going to add 3 zeros. So the number in the thousands place can tell the number in the hundreds place what to do. Or I can't get any groups of 15 out of 7. Write a 0, subtract a 0. How many groups of 15 can I get out of 70? That's going to be 4, which is 60. How many groups of 15 can I get out of 100? That would be 6, which is 90. And that'll be another 6. Well, that 6 tells that 6 to go up to a 7. So this is approximately 47 hundredths. So whatever's behind the decimal here goes behind the decimal there. That's that something part. So I know that the square root of 56 is pretty close to 7 and 47 hundredths, but I need to check it. Number 4 is when you check it. You check it by squaring it. So I'm going to take 7 and 47 hundredths and square it. 7.47 times 7.47 is 55.80. Now, step 5 is to keep checking it. 7.48 times 7.48 is 55.95. Got a little closer. Let's try 7.49. It's 56.10. So I know that this is like a nickel away from having 56. And that's a dime away from being 56. So the closest approximation is 7 and 48 hundredths. All right, that's how you use option 2. You just follow these steps here that are on the 4th page of your notes. Hope this helped, guys. Thank you.